Hey everybody, before we get started, just to remind you this episode brought to you by our patrons like Agao Comics, Qua, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Denton, Nestor Flores, Soda-san 0424, and Video Gamer 75. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it really helps us out. Thanks for your support, everybody.
Secret mission? What plans? What are you talking about? I'm not getting in bed.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is time once again to talk about Star Wars Legion by Fantasy Flight Games. That's right, it's Legion time. There's finally an official announcement on the Crashed Escape Pod pack that was announced at Gen Con but didn't receive an official thingbob-what's-it article until now. Well, here it is. So yeah, we're going to talk about it, and we'll talk about some other stuff at the back end too. But mostly, the announcement of the Crashed Escape Pod. Woo! So, yeah, this is probably going to be pretty simple graphic-wise. I just got a slide. The gist of it is that this is basically another Battlefield expansion. It comes with the Escape Pod terrain piece, complete with a little bit of terrain sticking up, to catch it. But it also comes with C-3PO and R2-D2 minis and cards for both the Rebel Alliance and the Republic. We don't know if they'll be different. We can only see the Rebel version, and we have seen, I believe it's the Rebel version of C-3PO on top of this. Anyway, we'll cover all that in a second. We can see some of R2's cards, we can see some upgrades, we can see a little bit of terrain, and that's what it comes with. So it's kind of a wombo combo. It's a bit like Priority Supplies, but also it's got a full-blown operative and counterpart in there. Two operatives, actually, because it offers two factions. So it's a pretty decent buy for your money. And if you're one of those people who are salted that Clone Wars factions aren't getting anything new until, well, technically December, or maybe they're in the row for the upgrade expansions also, which is pretty neato that they get that addition right away. But hey, here is technically a Clone Wars combo unit. Thumbs up. And actually, to talk about something else that's really cool real quick, if you are actually a little concerned about that, I'm pretty sure there's a reason for that, why that happened. And I would like to recommend to you to check out the most recent episode of Notorious Scoundrels. I think it's just subtitled I Am Darth Vader, where they got the developers, Alex and Luke, on to talk about some stuff, especially the operatives, but also the points rebalancing, which is really helpful. But the key thing is the operatives, the new Luke and Vader operatives thing, which basically by their accounts were kind of developed all at the same time. Like that's, for instance, why operative Jedi Knight Luke has disengage, which is also shared by Grievous in a certain aspect. So that kind of like came together that they developed all that in the same rough time scale. C-3PO also has a command card that gives him disengage, so that's also, not C-3PO, R2. It would also apply to C-3PO, I think. I have to reread counterparts a little bit. They're a little confusing, and maybe there'll be some more clear stuff in there. But anyway, R2 has disengage also. So they were in a similar blob of stuff that came out, and they were kind of organized. But the reason why they were working on some stuff is that they were actually, sorry, I bumped my microphone a little bit. They were actually talking to LFL about some stuff, and LFL was like, we could go for some more original trilogy releases. And Fantasy Flight was kind of like, cool, we're in the middle of developing two new factions, but we'll find some room. So it sounds kind of like the licensor and marketing kind of got together to figure out the order of stuff, and it just so happens that somewhere in there between the trio of game development, marketing, and, publicity, and the actual license holder, who, are kind of a big deal guys, they kind of settled on this ultimate schedule. So don't be too salty with FFG about it, but also don't be too salty with them in general. Like, it's not worth being salted over. First of all, but yeah, it's probably not their fault. But anyway, let's break down this image here. So we can see quite a few things. I'm actually a little sad that the terrain marker, little pit marker in here kind of identifies this as a scenario. You kind of have to pick the different options. It looks like there's a couple of setups. There might be a couple of condition versions, maybe, and a couple of objectives. I'm kind of sad about that, because I really, just reading Crash Landing here, I would really just play that in normal play, forget the scenario parts. But I'm weird, this is like the one thing where I get people's masochistic, I want to suffer kind of mentality, as I want interesting Legion engagements, so I'm like, why would you put clear conditions in your deck? Like, no, seriously, if there was, like, one competitive thing I could do, it would be no clear conditions, you're banned. You can't ever put that card in your tournament deck. You have to play with a condition. but I get why people always build it in their decks and try and pick it, because it's less of a pain in the butt. But that's also, it's literally nothing. But anyway, so Crash Landing, the short version is, it's got a lot of text, and you can probably read it, if not in this slide, in the very large blown-up high-res image on FFG's website. But the rough version is basically, you would have placed condition tokens, and then you flip them all up, you reveal each condition token, the one that's got the 1 pip detonates, and so that's a range 1 to 2 impact 1 detonation with a rainbow, by the way, so that's a pretty big punch, if you happen to be standing next to it at the end phase. The blue player replaces it with the Crash Escape Pod terrain, which centers roughly on where the condition token was, and displaces any units that are under it, even if they can't normally be displaced. You remove any remaining condition tokens, the red player places 2 objective tokens in base contact with the Crash Escape Pods. So, basically, the pod crashes, blows up, anybody who's standing near it is likely to take some injury, and near is a very broad area in this, and you don't know which condition it's going to proc, but if you can survive standing close to it, then you're right next to 2 objective tokens. So that's pretty cool. Like I said, I wish this was not necessarily a scenario piece, like if this was just a vanilla card, but obviously, as you can tell from the fact that it doesn't, like, discuss the condition token placement and other stuff, there's probably some multitude steps. Oh, I forgot to mention the burst on that area effect has Surge Crit too. But let's talk units. So we can see R2-D2, Hero of 1,000 Devices. He's a 1 mini operative. You can make him 2 minis by attaching C-3PO through that whole thing, but you should already have been able to see that in the RRG. Now, this is the very interesting thing. He's only 35 points. So, this is a very streamlined, very, very streamlined operative. I like what they're doing here. It's very appropriate. He's not super expensive, does some stuff. 4 wounds, 2 courage, white defense die, surge to hit and surge to block, normally only speed 1, has a single comms upgrade available, and has 1 weapon, the electroshock. This is both melee and ranged 1. So he does have his shock prod like I thought he would, which is suppressive, and it's 3 whites. 3 whites, surge to hit, not the worst, not the best. But it is suppressive, and it is a ranged attack, so that's pretty dandy. So for keywords, he's got Repair 2, Capacity 2. So some people have been double-checking the RRG, and Repair 2, Capacity 2 is a serious upgrade, because the way Repair is actually worded is, you place 1 wound token on the card, so you count 1 against your capacity, and remove up to X wound, ion, or damage tokens from a target vehicle or droid trooper. So this means that R2-D2 can heal for 2 twice, not heal for 2 up to 1. So that's really good. So he is an improved version of the basic bitch repair bot function, which is expected. He does have grounded, he cannot climb or clander, like I said. R2-D2 is like a Roomba. He can't do stairs, definitely can't do vertical surfaces, stuff like that. And there is one situation where he can, but we'll talk about that. That's command card. He has the inconspicuous keyword, which is basically, if you have at least 1 suppression token, when an enemy performs an attack, if able, it must attack another unit. During your rally step, you may choose not to remove suppression tokens. So, R2 actually wants to be a little suppressed so that other guys can't shoot at him. And then there's Secret Mission, like everybody expected. So, if you're using him in regular play, you can try and kind of scoot him across the battlefield and have him pluck a victory token out from your backlog. And I guess while we're at it, do I still have that saved somewhere? Yeah, I do. Okay. Counterpart. So, C-3PO would add basically a white die for his clumsy kick in melee and add 2 wounds, and adds an extra 15 points, gives you the calculate odds option and the distract action, which references inconspicuous. So, yeah, that gives you a little bit more buff capacity. As he's an interesting little support thing going on there. You know, pretty cheap cost. Takes about as much cost as a core unit does to give you access to Secret Mission and extra repairs. That might be worth it, because I know some people already want to run, repair bot squads. This definitely might be an interesting addition to both Rebels and, in future, the Republic. Especially if you're trying to support tanks. The speed one's a bit of a hurt, but vehicles also are a variable speed. Like, for Rebels, if you're trying to do the big duty, like the heavy ones, that's not going to work. If you are working with AT-RTs, though, maybe, though they're a little more mobile. So there's definitely some thinking about your positioning in there, and so on and so forth. I think the speed one is also to prevent him from being too ludicrous with secret mission, like, woo, I'm just gonna woo, 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 into your deployment zone and woo, 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 right out. But, hey, surge to hits and surge to block, so he's better than B1 troopers. We can see one of his command cards. Blast Off, it's his 1-pip. It only issues an order to R2-D2. R2-D2 increases his maximum speed by 1, so he goes up to speed 2 for this round. He gains 1 dodge token and 1 suppression token, so it procs that inconspicuous. He gains Disengage, which I mentioned earlier, so he can just woob on out of melee combat, and gains Jump 1, which is the thing I was talking about. Like, some people might be like, doesn't R2-D2 have rockets? Yes, he does. He can rocket. But in this case, he needs his command card to do that. He can only do that trick, once a scene. After that, no stairs. Ramps only. Handicap access is important, kids. But yeah, so that gives him Jump 1, which lets him get around some of the terrain obstacles that might be in his way. Blast Off is a good play when you're ready to get R2 into that position. It gives him the suppression token, so it's inconspicuous procs for sure. It gives you the jump to ignore low-hanging terrain. Everybody knows, especially in Rebels already, how useful jump is. Gives him Disengage to get out of any trouble he may be in, and bumps you up to speed 2. We don't know what his 2-pip does, but the word blast does seem to be in it, so I'm not sure. It looks kind of like there's a B2 in the background, so that might be him doing the oil slick fire thing from Revenge of the Sith. That might make sense as like a blast, maybe spray. Basically gives him the equivalent of a one-time flamethrower. It's really funny that it almost seems like R2's got some similarities with... He's the real Rebel Boba Fett. Everybody was like, it's Sabine, now it's R2. Because he's got the secret mission keyword and all that fun stuff. Overall, as a unit, I think with his low cost, he's not a huge wound bank. You can get a few more if you choose to add C-3PO, which also gives you more buff abilities. I think as like a pocket buff commander, repair, calculate odds, stuff like that. Possibly even distract to, like, control when enemies have to shoot you and stuff like that. Got a lot of use in that respect. And then maybe you'll be able to build, especially because he's so cheap, you'll be able to build to exemplify secret mission type stuff. Otherwise, yeah, I don't think... I would never have thought R2 was, like, a serious business damage unit. Like, maybe Chopper... Like, Chopper's been known to, like, not only does he have shock prods and stuff and all that sadism, but also has little arms that pop out and, like, shoot guns and stuff. That guy might be an astromech that can hurt some people. But still, a lot of stuff. We can also see 2 upgrades in this. They're both comms, because R2 has 1 comms slot. We don't know what the second one is, but the first one gives us, I think, our first clean look at integrated comms antenna, which we've seen bandied about in other expansion packs before. This is a 3-point upgrade, droid trooper only, and yeah, R2's a droid trooper, in case that wasn't clear. And during the command phase, you can be issued orders by friendly commanders or operatives at range 1 to 4. So it's basically reverse. I think that's commanding presence? Sometimes upgrades blur together. But yeah, so it's basically a personal version of the upgrade that lets your commanders issue orders up to range 4, basically now, so long as you're within range, up to 4. You can be issued an order. You're going to see that a lot on B1s and some other droid units that have, like, AI, so that they can definitely get their orders better. Separatists really want those order tokens. For R2, for 3 points, he's only got a comms upgrade, unless he himself has, like, some other stuff in there. I think that's as good as any. Even with a discount, long-range comms is really expensive. Like, if you're just trying to be as annoying as possible with R2, maybe Comms Jammer, but integrated comms seems fine. And maybe when this gets closer to coming out, they'll give a full spoiler on some more of the... This was just the announcement article, so maybe they'll give a full spoiler on some more of the command cards and especially those battlefield cards. But we'll see. I think R2's a fun addition, especially for that low point cost, and overall not a huge default game impact. I can see why they decided to try and, like, bundle them all together in a a singular, thematic kit. The whole thing's $40, which is obviously more expensive than an operative pack usually is, but, this also comes with a terrain piece, and it comes with, it's got the full, battlefield expansion treatment, so that seems fair. Because, actually, let me look real quick. What is the default? Yeah, so commanders are about 12, or operatives the same? I would expect it would be. Yeah, Chewie is, okay. So they're $13. So this is a little more than double the cost for a commander or operative usually is, but it does come with like twice the unit minis because you can stick C-3PO in there. It comes with twice as many unit cards because it's got both the Republic and Rebel versions, and then also it's a completely functional, terrain expansion also. So sorry. A little bit of a yawn. The overall price point's not the worst. I know a lot of people are still looking at that bunker going, why? $75 for just some theme stuff. I know. Still, the Crash Escape Pod is less expensive than the Down AT-ST, which also was another thing that a lot of people were like, you want me to pay what now? I think the Crash Escape Pod overall is a better design aspect. It's a better implement because, first of all, it has a couple of different faction uses, right? Like, both Rebel and Republic collectors will probably want to pick it up just for the units, but also then they get a terrain piece they can use, a very iconic terrain piece if they need it, and you get, the extra scenario stuff in there if you want it. And if you're just a terrain piece collector and you want the scenario-focused play, it's a little bit cheaper than the Down AT-ST, and definitely cheaper than the Imperial Bunker, so that's pretty fair. Though now that I'm looking at it, I'm wondering when they'll release Clone Wars themed terrain, because obviously the Escape Pod can kind of do that, but the other two terrain expansions are really, really focused. Dunno, we'll see. Like I said, I'm pretty sure there was a little bit of what they call executive meddling that dictated our release order. Speaking of release order, you'll notice there's not a full-blown video on the preview of Operative Luke. As much as I like to get into the analysis or whatever, there's, I don't know, not really a super deep, because we've seen most of this before. He's 200 points like you expect in the announcement article. You can see most of his stuff, so we've covered most of what his upgrades and so on are. His upgrade options, his keywords, all that stuff. And in the episode about points changes, we talked about in the prize support that there were extended arts of all of his command cards, so we basically talked about most of those. I will recover them in a little bit detail. We already know what I'm a Jedi is. You serve your master well is his one pip that only activates Luke. It gives him a free action to choose a non-commander, non-operative trooper unit at range 1, or a suppressed enemy unit with the same things at range 1. You perform one free move or attack action with that unit. If it's an enemy unit, it can even attack or melee other enemy units. And that's a move or attack action, so anything that procs on those actions applies. So, yeah, this is basically him doing the mind trick in Fortuna. And remember, it's a free action. It's not right when you play the command card. So you can actually use mind trick to suppress an enemy trooper and then confuse them, make them jump out of cover, make them fight their boss, fun stuff like that. And then full of surprises, we talked about this also, he gains a dodge token while defending. It specifies he rolls a number of extra white dice equal to his courage minus the number of suppression tokens. So, gives Luke a little extra pinch of defensive ability if you need it, if you're in a pinch. Which makes sense, because he's a pretty expensive unit, so you want that little bit of extra survivability. But remember, you can also carry these over to regular Commander Luke if you want. They haven't detailed exactly how that works in the RG, but they said that that's the design intent. And also in that interview, they talked about, will other units get this treatment? And they basically said that, yeah, there are some units who obviously have multiple iterations, multiple looks, multiple arcs in their design, which could definitely benefit from that, and especially for major iconic characters like Luke and like Vader, giving them the extra mile with more command cards they can take with alternate sculpt and versions. That makes sense, right? They said it makes sense for them to make those big cornerstone characters that little bit extra cooler. But that they also had a huge list of characters who were cool in general that aren't in the game yet at all. So their priority will be to work down the list of new characters, but if an opportunity arises or a need arises for them to, improve old characters or, like, re-release them in different builds and types, they will do it. And like I said, this seemed really, while it was helpful to the game because it helped them come up with some of the ideas that we're also seeing in this first block of Clone Wars releases, it really did seem like this was an impetus from LFL to, like, do a little bit more in the original trilogy market. Alright, so that's about that. I'll go ahead and wipe this down. Don't want to make it too long, it's just an announcement. So keep your eyes peeled for, I don't think there are any more announcement articles that should be coming out. Though, once again, on that interview, you should really check it out. It's super great, even if it's like an hour 20. Alex Davies did allude that there are even more droid releases coming that are not R2 and C-3PO, so I don't know. There were those supposed leaks. I don't know if I ever mentioned them on the channel, but I, read about them and thought about them. There were some supposed leaks about Cassian and Iden with some counterparts. Those haven't really gone anywhere, so I'm going to assume they weren't real leaks. There were no pictures ever posted. Supposedly, a Polish distributor got a leak, but there were no pictures. There was no hasty, clearly ahead of schedule announcement on the website or anything, so I think that may have just been a goof. But who knows? We'll see if that pops up. Or there may be another terrain, battlefield type upgrade, maybe that's more, or expansion that's more Hoth themed, and Imps can get probe droids. Who knows? We'll see what happens. I know people really do want more scenario and terrain play. And yes, I know you all really want to get your new thing. The Clone Wars kit is about to officially come out. May even, by the time this video goes public, have hit street date. It's a big deal, but you guys are going to be the new hotness for a while. Because, let's see, Luke and Vader are still not out until, was it Q4? Yeah, so that's, this is always a problem. Is it fiscal year or calendar year quarters? I think it's calendar year quarters. So it's October, November, December is Q4? Dunno. Anyway, it's in there somewhere, and I would guess probably next month, based on the fact that we're doing previews, and, we're kind of in this developmental stage, but still, this was a roughly concurrent development with the core set, so it makes sense. And it may have been a little shoehorned in there. We'll see. But yeah, we'll see if any other stuff comes out. When is the Crash Escape pod supposed to drop? I suppose I should double check that real quick before I wrap this up. Yeah, so that's not until first quarter of 2020. Alright, interesting. So still, they're working on stuff that's compatible with multiple factions. And you do get the upgrade expansions, which I believe are still on schedule for this year. But yeah, okay, that's all the really cleverness. Might do an episode when they do the Darth Vader operative full preview, what they call Apprentice Vader. Cause while I believe on stream they kind of discussed most of his command cards and they've alluded to them in, like, the interview, I don't know if we've got, like, good, clean, high-res images of them to, like, remind everybody and make sure we got all the fine details, so that might be worth going over anything and talking about that whole thing. We'll see when that article drops, if we'll do a video or not, and we'll look into that analysis. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. So don't forget to give this video a like if you liked it. If you have any comments, your thoughts on the Battlefield expansion, or on R2-D2 as an operative, leave in the comments down below. You can also join our Discord, that link is in the description. Discord's a great tool, kids. And of course, if you are new here and have not already, please subscribe to the channel so you can always get our latest Legion videos and other products. And even if you're already subscribed, consider that bell for notifications so you will always know when we post a new video. Being subbed would only let you know if you look at your sub feed. And of course, like it says at the front of the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. You get access to episodes early, lots of other goodies, and it really helps us out. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for your time. I'm gonna go play Azure Lane now, and wish it was Star Wars themed. Star Destroyer girls win.